We've been in John chapter 5, or John chapter 15. 14, 15, 16 actually, and we're just kind of letting the Spirit highlight those three verses. We're not actually doing a verse by verse, but we're just letting the Holy Spirit highlight that for the last several weeks now. But I want to go to Hebrews 12 and continue the emphasis for the last couple weeks on the pruning. There was a time when we were doing John 14, 15, 16 that I felt, how am I going to get to that scripture where it talks about God prunes? And I didn't know how to really get there, and so I just didn't get there. And then the Lord just evolved the message in our conversations with some men's meetings we've had, and kind of just bouncing things back and forth. The Lord opened that up to us. So we've been looking at the pruning. This is really part 4 of that. We're calling it all things for His glory. Working all things for His glory. And the pruning process we see in the Bible as in Jeremiah 18, which is the picture of the potter and the clay on the wheel. I see that as the pruning process. God molding and shaping us. And then in Hebrews 12 we see the coach being played out as being trained, not punished. God disciplines us not because He's punishing us. It's not punitive, but it's a training. It's a maturing, and as a coach does his players. I want to look at that one more time before we jump into the actual verse we're going to look at today. Let's start at verse 6 of Hebrews 12, and I'm reading out of the Amplified. It says, "For the Lord corrects and disciplines everyone whom He loves, and He welcomes every son whom He accepts to His heart and cherishes." Verse 7. Now, of course, I skipped that one part of the Amplified because it's not punish. I don't know why they do that. He punishes. That's not. If He punishes, we got to go back, and this is again when you're getting into translations. Obviously, the person who the Amplified people or the King James people are going to use the word punish. But my question to those translators would be, why is He punishing me for something He does not impute to my account? Right? I don't understand why you're using the word punish. Now, I understand the word train. I understand the word discipline in the idea of a coach, but not as a schoolmaster who's going to punish me now like the law used to do under the Old Testament. So, again, who am I? I don't have a degree in Hebrew and Greek. So they do. But they put the word in there. I'm just trying to debate them on the New Covenant realities of He doesn't impute, 2 Corinthians 5, verse 19? He's not imputing my sin against me. If you tell your kid if they do something wrong and you say, I'm not going to hold that against you, but go to your room. You can't have the Xbox today. No, I'm not holding it against you. I freely, no, I'm letting it, no. Grace, but here's your punishment. It just doesn't line up. So if you want to use the word punish, put that in there, and you feel like God scourges you, then that's who you're going to have for a father. That's how you're going to see Him, as a taskmaster, punishing you every time you do wrong. All right? That's not the word there. All right? That's not the mindset. That's not even in the context of the New Covenant. So let's, I know because people are following me on this, saying, you skipped some words. Yeah, because those aren't right words. Verse 7. You must submit to and endure correction for discipline. God is dealing with you. Now they're saying dealing, not punishing. Now they're saying dealing with you as with sons. All right, now let's just jump down because I don't want to get into all this. I want to show you one Greek word here. Verse 8. Now, if you are exempt from correction and left without discipline, in which all of God's children share, then you're illegitimate offspring and not true sons at all. So, verse 9, moreover, we have had earthly fathers who disciplined us. and we yielded to them and respected them for training us, shall we not much more cheerfully submit to the Father of spirits and so truly live? Verse 10, for our earthly fathers disciplined us for only a short period of time. And I'm going to use that word chastise. I don't like it, so I'm going to put in there discipline, because that's what other translations do. And disciplined us as seemed proper and good to them. But He disciplines us. See, now they're using the word discipline. For us, again, for the sake of being redundant, they're going to use a word that doesn't really belong there, but that's their freedom and liberty to do so. He disciplines us for our certain good, that we may become sharers in His own holiness. Now, here's what I want you to see, verse 11. For the time being. Now, understand, for the time being, which means there's seasons of this. A tree is not in perpetual pruning. You don't see somebody constantly pruning a tree. But there are seasons of pruning, and this is what he's talking about. Thank God we're not under this discipline all the time. I can't live in a gym. I mean, if you work out with your muscles, again, this is probably debatable, but I'm going to be close to the figures, but your muscles probably has a 45-minute fatigue. After 45 minutes, you get the pump. After 45 minutes, you're pretty much done. Maybe some people can go a little longer, some a little less, but there's a time frame that you can only work your muscles so much before that's it. There's a fatigue, and to do any more would be damaging. So if God disciplines you any more than your frame can handle, then He has to watch. He has to consider your frame and say, no, I can't do that, because then it's overkill, and then there's no life in it at that point. So God knows strategically how to discipline us. So for time being, no discipline brings joy. Okay? But seems grievous. Now that word grievous is the word I want you to see. And the reason why I'm picking that particular word is because, well, let me just tell you, number one, the word in the Greek is to pay. T-O-O-P-A-Y, if you transliterate that in some English letters there. To pay. And it means sorrow. It means grief, sadness, but it means pain. And the Amplified brings that out. Pain. So it says, for the time being, no discipline brings joy, but seems grievous and painful. You go to a gym and you watch people working out. I don't know if you've ever been to a gym or not, but if you haven't, then I'll tell you what you're going to see. There's going to be a group of people that are there just to be social. They're just going to go around and talk to people all the time. Big old smile on their face. Hey man, how you doing? And then they go do a couple reps somewhere, but they're off talking to somebody. Oh, they see somebody, so they're going to run over there. That's another thing you can't do. That's why God doesn't stop, start, because with the muscles, once you get the pump, and you don't go back and work out again, you start to lose it, and then you're done. So I have that problem. I'm working out, and the guy wants to come over and talk to me, and I'm like, you know, I can't stop. If you get me to stop too long, it's over. Okay? So strategically, you like, God, stop. When you're going through this, and God's like, no, I can't. There's a process here. And first the natural. If you understand the natural, you may be able to understand the spiritual. So you got those guys who just want to talk all the time. And so do you really think they're working out? They have never sweated in their life. Their clothes look as dry as they came in. And they've got a smile on their face. Now that's a group of people you're going to see in a gym. I don't see any pain. It's not grievous. No pain, what?
No gain.
No gain. I know there's one particular person in my mind that we've watched him. It's comical. And it's not just me, but other people are watching this. This one particular guy comes in, and he's all decked out, and it's like, I don't really want to work out. I want to look like I'm working out. That's what it comes down to. He puts these little 10-pound weights on stuff, and he's going at it. He lets the weights drop, and he's only got like 10 pounds on there, but the whole place here is the shattering of the weights, and you kind of look over like, wow. And he's not doing nothing. He's not sweating. He's not doing anything, but he looks good doing it. And they've talked. I said, you know what? He just likes the concept. He doesn't really want to do it. He just likes the concept. He wants to dress for the occasion, and go through the motions of it, and he's having fun. But there is zero gain. There cannot be any. I'm sure maybe taking these little tiny weights and doing that might do something, but not much. Not much at all, if that. And so those are that type of people. You look at, there's no pain on their face. It's not grievous. They are having fun doing what they're doing. Then there's those who come, they got an old t-shirt on. They don't care what they look like. And there is pain on their face. They get done and they're going, oh, man. They're wiping the sweat off, and they don't talk to nobody hardly. They're there for a reason, right? Now there's going to be gain in that. But that's the workout. So you go to any football field this summer, high school, college, whatever, or any type of sports when they're going to be training. Man, there is pain on those guys' face. They're running the laps. You just look and go, really? I'll run in some of this heat, and there'll be people at the park, and they're like, I don't get that. It's like, I don't either, but I'm doing it. Because they see the pain and the sweat and everything, right? When you see a person doing something, there's a smile, and they ain't sweating, it's not a workout, right? Now, the reason why I use this word grievous, in first showing you the physical aspect of it, in the spiritual is, I watch Christian television and I don't see pain. I hear their messages and there's never anything on the potter's wheel. When's the last time you heard a message on the potter's wheel? Where that potter's just molding, putting pressure, like putting pressure on your muscles, pressure on you, molding you, Pressure here. No discipline seems joyful at the moment, but grievous. But afterwards it yields a peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. So I don't see pain. I don't see messages that include this pruning, and this is a big part. All I hear is the message of the success and the prosperity preached by the good times boys of Jesus. It's just the good times. And you turn them on, and it's like, hold on, saint, have hope, because God is so good, and God's going to do this, and there's no pain. It's a plastic smile, man. It's not real for me. Now you might want to be coddled with that. But that good time message by that good time boy ain't going to be there in your bad time. You can tell me all day long how good or how much I'm going to grow in my muscles or be more and get more healthy but that doesn't make my workouts any more pleasant. Does it? It's still the same weight. It still hurts. It's still the same many miles you're putting in. I'll go run and I'm like, God, I feel like I haven't ran before. I can run 10 miles and then the next day run and my body acts like it's never ran before in its life. I'll walk up Joe's steps and I feel like I feel like my body's like, wow, that was tough. And I'm like, but you just ran. How can... It's because it's never working out. Your body never ever gets used to all of that, you know? And so I watch these guys, and I'm like, that's not a true message. There's a huge missing element in the messages today. Oh, I'm all for the good times, okay? Thank God for the good times. But it's not always that, is it? From John 15, it's not. You may drive by a tree and say, look at all those apples. That is amazing. And look how big they are. Look how red they are, or green, or whatever color they are. But you didn't see the time period where the vine dresser or the owner stripped the bark off that tree, and at one time it didn't look good. As a matter of fact, if you would have drove by that same tree when it was under the process of pruning, you never would have said that. Look at that tree, how great and how big, and look at the fruit. You wouldn't have seen anything. You just thought, is that tree dead? You'd have to look at it a couple times to see whether or not is it on its way out, or is there a restoration process going on there? And see, you'll look at a Christian and you'll see pain, and you'll see the grief and the times of being, you know, whatever God's doing is grievous. You'll see all that happening, and it doesn't look pretty. And you know what? You can't package that and sell it. Huh? If that guy was going to advertise his orchard, he's not going to show pictures of trees pruned on his brochure. What's going to be on the front cover? Those that have already been pruned and look great. So you can't sell. That's why you don't see this kind of message on TV. It doesn't sell because nobody finds joy in pruning. Huh? I don't know. There's no utopia in this. I mean, I would love to be able to... Have you ever gone to a resort? Bill, you just went to Hawaii? Of course, you may not... Typically, most people want to live there, but you come back and you don't. But let's say you did. But you go to Hawaii or you go to some resort, and it's like nice, and you kind of like want to live there, right? I mean, wouldn't that be a nice place to just live and not have to go back to work and not have to go back to the daily grind? But thank God for vacations, and that's the reprieve you get from the pruning. I cannot wait till I get through my pruning. It's been going on for several years now. And that's where we're going to get to. We never know the time. You may just take one bitter step in a few days, a week, and you're out of it. And that's just some little tiny thing God was working on. Didn't take much time, not much stripping, but it was something that was necessary. But it was a very short period. Then there's times you're taking a trek across the Sahara Desert. It's like, when does it end? And those times don't sell. I don't look good when I'm going through those times. I'm not the happy Christian you're looking at with the plastic smile on his face. You'll see me over somewhere in the corner being quiet, just, you know, I told you, I wake up in the morning, really? Again? How? Like waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to the football field. Really? You don't want to do that? But it's necessary. Right? And God says this pruning, I don't know how long it's going to go on, but it's necessary. And it's not joyful. Come on. It's not, He says that. Don't feel condemned and guilty that you're going through something and you can't put that charismatic smile on your face and act like you continue to glow in the dark and everything. No, it's not joyful. It's grievous. And we've got to respect that with each other. Oh, you're a Christian. Wake up. Do this. Do that. You ought to be happy. You know how Christians do to each other. Those that are in a really good place browbeat those that are in a bad place. And I'm saying, no, He says that. I'm not saying that. It's not joyful. Come on, brother. The joy of the Lord is your strength. Come on. Joy unspeakable, full of glory. And wait a minute, that's good, but right now I'm being pruned, and it says to me right here, it's grievous, it's not joyful, so let me just sweat it out. Again, is that some doom and gloom or depressing? No, because weeping may endure for the night, but what? Joy comes in the morning. I'm going to get my joy. Just give me time. I'm going through a process. Joy's coming. That's my hope. Not some good time message from a good time boy telling me. No, my hope is in what God's Word says. Joy comes in the morning. And because He says it's for a time, that means this has an expiration date on it. That's my only hope. Without the Word telling me that, man, this could go on the rest of my life. Is this how I'm going to end? No, joy comes in the morning, and there's going to be a vacation resort somewhere where I'm going to get a reprieve for a while, which is the peaceful fruit of righteousness is going to come after this. And then after a while, guess what? He's going to prune me again. But I will tell you this much, and I have confidence in this. I won't be pruned like this ever again. There's no way, in my 4th year of pruning. Now you say I'm exaggerating, and those who know me well know that's the truth. I can't point out highlights I can't point out great breakthroughs. I can't point out in the last 3.5 years anything that rose above just the average daily grind that just beats the hell out of it. So I know I'm in this thing. And I didn't know going into it in 2010 how long it was going to be. But as of now, it's continuing. And 2013 hasn't changed in any way, shape, or form than the other years. So I don't know if I'm in the beginning of this, I'm in the middle of this, or I'm even on the end of it anymore. I don't even know that. But I do know joy comes. And my hope is this is going to work out for my deliverance. This too will pass, just like Paul said. But that's not the message you hear today. So go back to, well, we'll go to John 15. Let's go right into the message. Go to Psalms 84. We danced around Psalm 84 in these last 3 messages, so I thought let's just go ahead and dive into it, because I used it in sidebar, bypass using it, sidebar using it, whatever. But let's turn there. Psalms 84. Now this pruning, another word you could use for the pruning is pressure. And that's what I want to talk about, is pressure is grievous. The pressure of life, the pressure of that clay on the wheel, the pressure of the coach that he puts on you, the pressure of pruning. God's way of producing fruit in us, according to John 15. Now, pressure never killed anyone. Rarely does anybody die on the football field training unless they've got some physical problem that's a fluke, right? But working out, if working out killed people, you wouldn't have people in the gym today. So working out does not kill you. Pressure does not kill you. Don't fear the pressure. All right? Pressure never killed anybody. But, check this out, it's the placement of pressure that we need to be concerned about. So what do you mean the placement of pressure? If pressure ever gets, this pruning, keep in mind when I say pressure, I'm talking about that potter and the clay on the wheel. I'm talking about the coach, this pruning. If pressure ever gets between you and God, that's what's going to kill you. Is when you allow the pressure to offend you at God. So when the pressure gets between you and God, and all you now see is the pressure, and you don't see the need, you gripe, you murmur, you complain, you can't see beyond what I'm doing here. You don't see the, like I said, you don't see the need. Like if these guys on the football field are going to the gym, if they don't see that this is for a reason, it's going to kill them then. So if you let pressure get between you and God, that'll kill you. But if you let pressure drive you to God, the Bible says that Jesus learned obedience through the things he suffered. And I told you what that was in the Greek. When pressure came on him, life demands, some suffering, some situation, circumstances, he ran to the voice, the speaking voice. That's what that scripture means. So Jesus didn't have to learn obedience. He's God. What he had to learn was what to do while I'm going through this. Go to the Father for strength. Go to the Father for guidance. Go to the Father for understanding. So the times of pressure drove Jesus to the Father. That's perfect placement of pressure. Does that make sense? But if he let the pressure cause the pressure get between him and the Father, then he would have been offended. John the Baptist let the pressure of prison get between him and Jesus and had his delegated staff sent to Jesus to ask the question, are you the one or should we look for another? Now that might have been fine for any other disciple to say that, but this is John who had, this is the Lamb of God that takes away the sin of the world. And the same guy ends up questioning what he came out of his mouth. He let pressure, the pressure of prison, get between him and Jesus. So pressure's good. That's the pruning. But if you let the pruning get between you and God, then that's what's going to kill you. And that's why many people don't come out of the training period. Many walk off the field. I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm not taking this. And so they mess up. How many times has God, now I'm going to hopefully bring all this together, because I know that we're only going to look at one aspect of Psalm 84. We're going to finish it next week. I already know that. How many times has God wanted to prune somebody and they said, oh, no, I'm not letting this happen. This is unacceptable, God. And they hang on to the good time boys' message on TV. If I just work this, it'll be better. And God's like, no, you got to go. No, I'm not going through that. That ain't God. That can't be God. I want to show up and play football. I don't want to work out. I don't want to train. I want to look in the mirror and have muscles, and I don't want to go to the gym. I want to run a marathon, but I'm not going to run all those miles per week. That's where you think I'm crazy? That is crazy in the physical. But I'm telling you, that is where the church is. They want that icing. They want the good times. They want to look like a Christian. They want to act like a Christian. But they don't got the roots that have been developed in Jesus so deep that they've allowed God to do the pruning. So they've got this modified behavior. They look the look. They're plastic, man. And when hell breaks loose, they're off the field like right now. It's not working for them. And so they're the kind of fair-weather Christians. They come to church when things are going good. Things are going bad, they're done. Things are going good. Thank you, Jesus. And you hear them. Jesus bought me a car. Thank you, Jesus. But when that car breaks down, what are you doing? They're quick to give God the glory in the good times and quick to get offended at God in the bad times. And they run from the pruning. They run, and therefore they never develop in Christianity. What I mean by that is they never get mature. Paul says you ought to be teachers by now. He says you guys should be spiritual, but you're babes. This is the Corinthian church had been saying. He's not going to tell them that you should be babes when they're babes. No, you should be men now, grown up, but you are babes. How did they remain babes? By avoiding the pruning process. Because the pruning process is growth. Now, I mean, John 15 is John 15 not about maturity and growth, fruit? And the way to get there is through pruning, hard times. Now, I'm not talking about God putting sickness on you. I'm not talking about God putting a sin on you or anything like that. I'm just talking about life happening because we live in a world, and that wheel on the potter is the providence of life. So I don't know what you're going to be facing in a week from now. And I don't know if your pruning is a week long or a year long or whatever, but hey, know this is coming. And if it doesn't come, you're a bastard. You're an illegitimate child of God. You ain't His. So if I'm looking around and I'm looking on Christian television, I got to wonder, hey, maybe these people aren't His. If they've got that plastic smile, they've never been pruned. And then you got to wonder, are you just preaching a gospel of success? Huh? If a man ain't pruned, I'm telling you, he ain't one of His. Look, if I had a tree in my yard, 3 or 4 trees, I'm going to prune those trees. Why? They're mine. But I ain't pruning your trees. You won't see me in your yard pruning your trees. Why? They're not mine. And that's a pretty good sign to find out whose are God's and whose are not God's. Because if a guy's just got a silver spoon in his mouth and everything seems to be going fine, Psalm 73, why does the wicked prosper? Here's a saint who's getting the hell beat out of him. And he looks over there and sees a guy prospering and nothing ever goes wrong. It offends him. See, again, he doesn't understand the potter and clay, doesn't understand Hebrews 12, doesn't understand John 15. But that guy in Psalm 73 said he went to the sanctuary, got understanding, and realized, I get it now. So many times have you got offended that you look at someone unsaved and said, man, it's always happening good for them. They just fall into money. They've never been sick a day in their life. And that's not every, you know unsaved people have financial problems. Come on, why are you picking on that unsaved one? It rains on the just and the unjust, so you can't even start that comparison stuff. But the fact is, if I'm watching a guy and he never has an ounce of pain and his life has never been grievous, wow. I got to wonder about that. Huh? Pressure. Don't let it kill you. Now take Peter for instance. Let me tell you, let's start with Peter. We're going to get to Psalm 84. Peter, for instance, pressure could not keep him awake when he should have been praying in the garden. Huh? The pressure started in the garden for Jesus, did it not? John 14, 15, 16, he's in the upper room. He's having the Last Supper. Everything's going great. Judas takes off, starts the pressure by selling him out. And then the prophecy is that the shepherd will be struck. And what happens? Huh? The sheep will be scattered. The pressure started. And right away it starts off so innocent. I can't even stay awake. Pressure's on. In a small, minute way. You say, well, come on. No. I'm not saying that. Jesus was the one who rebuked them. I'm not picking on them for sleeping. I've slept too when I probably should have been being more spiritual or being awake or praying or whatever, right? I'm not picking on them. I'm just saying it began because Jesus said, look, I'm over here praying. And I'm battling something here. And I go to you guys and you have no clue the pressure I'm under. While I'm under the pressure, you're sleeping. So it starts in the garden, them sleeping. Rather than praying, the pressure got them sleeping. And it starts to get between them and Jesus. Watch what happens with Peter. After that, they come to get Jesus, and Peter slices off that guy's ear, one of the guards' ear, and from that point it says that Peter followed from afar. He goes from not praying to getting in the flesh, because Jesus rebuked him for slicing the guy's ear off. It's not, none of this stuff is noble with Peter. Huh? This is not good stuff, sleeping when you should be praying, and then standing up for Jesus and taking a sword to somebody, and Jesus having to bend down, put the ear back on and say, wait a minute, that's not what this is about. What are you doing, Peter? So he's starting to drift. The pressure's on, and Peter is blowing it left and right because the pressure's on. And then it says he followed from a distance. And then what happens? See, this is the beginning of the end of Peter until he's restored. Because he'll go back to fishing. Watch, this is the beginning of the end of Peter because of this pressure. This pruning. How is it not pruning? Is Peter not being pruned? Because who asked permission to sift him like wheat? Huh? Satan asked permission. Jesus caught it. The Father told Jesus, hey, Satan asked permission to sift Peter like wheat. So although the sifting, the pruning, was coming from the devil, but it was the providence of God allowing it. So yeah, I'll let you do that, because you know what? It's time to prune that big mouth who puts his foot in his mouth all the time. Mr. Impulse. He's up on the high horse right now. I'll never forsake you, Jesus. I'm with you all the way to the end. And he's like, really? You're going to deny me 3 times. So he's going to have to be sifted, because he's very prideful and egotistical, and he thinks he's more than what he is. The Bible says, watch when you think you stand, lest you fall. And so God's going to use the enemy to sift him. God's using the things in your life to prune you. May not be, if it's sickness, God didn't put it on there, but I'm going to tell you, God's like the Democrats. They're not going to waste a crisis. Huh? They're going to use it to their... God's like, you know what? I'm going to let the devil do that, but I'm going to turn it for good and then rub it right back in his face. That's where he's a little different from the Democrats, I guess. But the fact is, God says, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to let you do that because it's going to work for my eternal purpose. In fact, I calculated that in the plan, so you're just, you're right on time there. Jesus was Judas was calculated in the plan of doing what he did. So watch. So then Peter denies the Lord 3 times, and then he's just done. He goes back to fishing. And then Jesus goes back, of course, and restores him. But that was the beginning of the end. Pressure. That's what I'm saying. Use Peter. Because you got to watch. A little bit of pressure may not be a big thing to you. Just like falling asleep when you should be praying. Look how innocent that is. That's not a big deal. But the fact that Jesus rebuked them, he knew that was the beginning of the end of those guys for a while. They were going to be scattered. And they were going to disperse. And then half of them in unbelief. And when Jesus does get resurrected, they still don't believe that he came back to life. I mean, pressure can do some bad things to you if you let it get between you and God. Does that make sense? All right, let's go to Psalm 84, verse 5. Blessed is the man whose strength is in thee, and whose heart are the highways to Zion, passing through the valley of weeping. They make it a place of springs. Yea, the early rain covereth it with blessing. They go from strength to strength. Every one of them appeareth before God in Zion. First of all, the context of Psalm 84 is that there was a journey that these Hebrews would take from wherever they were to get to Zion. And they had to pass through a particular valley. And it obviously was a tough valley. They called it Baca, which means weeping, the valley of weeping. And so they knew that to make the trek to Zion, they'd have to go through this valley that would be really hard on them. In other words, to get maybe to point to a particular place, you may have to go through the Sahara Desert. Think of the valley of weeping as like trying to get through the Sahara Desert. It's tough, it's dry, it's hot. Okay, how are we going to get through there? Well, some say, I'm not going. And I'm using the Sahara Desert, not that Zion's on the other side. I know that geographically, but I'm just trying to paint the picture here for you. But let's say the Sahara Desert was the Valley of Weeping here, Baca, and they wanted to get to Jerusalem, get to Zion for the feasts, or to get to the temple, or for whatever reason, okay? So they're making their trek to Zion, and so this valley, this Sahara Desert, if you will, is in the way. Many won't even make the trek. It's too hard. And that's Christianity. I'm not getting saved. I'm not doing that. I mean, I tried it, but it didn't work. It's too hard. Many just get in that, just a little part of that hardship, and they're done. And it's like the seed of the sower. For a while, they're happy that they got saved, but the scorching sun, the heat, and it doesn't go anywhere. So they really weren't saved. You know, the parable of the sower, right? So these people would get through it, but they had a promise. Those who knew their God would get through. They trust in the promises of God. God who calleth, enableth. They knew that if God called them to Zion for the feast or for whatever, that they would get through this valley, and they weren't fearful in making the journey. They were full of faith, and they were ready when that valley came. Next week, we're going to get into how they went from strength to strength and made it pools of waters, because God doesn't put you in that valley so you can just rot. There's a way to get through the valley healthy. Many people don't get through the valley healthy. They'll come out on the other end as if they were something the cat drug in. I mean, they came out of there, and have you ever came out of a trial and you're like, man, I got through, but man, I really didn't. I mean, I cussed God out several times. I mean, I kicked the dog. I left my wife for a week or two. I mean, you know, guys don't have a clue what I went through. I mean, I acted like just like those kids. Some of those kids on the football field will cry like a baby. Others will endure it and look good enduring it with the pain, but they look good, right? Daniel's the type of guy that will look good working out. I will be behind him, bitching, moaning, and complaining the whole way. That's the difference. But we're both going to get through the training. One got through looking good. The other came through hurting. All right? Like a weenie, whatever. So, let's talk about this. Blessed. The word blessed. This is encouraging. When it says blessed, the blessed man, they go through, what this means is, in verse 5, is blessed is the man. It's a state of being. You got to think of this. See, it's not you're going to be blessed or there are times that you are blessed. That mentality, I have the blessing of Abraham, so I don't say I'm blessed when I get blessed. I'm blessed. And when blessing comes, it doesn't mean that's when I'm blessed. See, that's right away, that's opposite of most Christians. And they're already in unbelief because they don't think that they're blessed. They think they're blessed when something good happens to them, and then they're blessed. If they're not blessed, they feel like I'm doing something wrong, I'm out of the will of God, it's my sin, something's wrong with me. And so right there's unbelief settling in that you're not going to receive anything from God because you're not worthy to receive, because you're going by, well, nothing good's happening, so I must not be blessed. And then when something good happens, oh, I'm the blessed of the Lord. Then whenever nothing happens again for a while, then you walk around, I'm not blessed. I want to be blessed. I believe in the blessing of Abraham. You are blessed. It's a state of being. And we could really stop right there and develop that, but I don't have time. I just want you to get this. You are blessed. It is a state of being, which means this. It doesn't change. I don't care what you're going through. If your situation changes, it doesn't change the state of being. And that's the first thing you got to know going into a valley is you're blessed. And when it says the blessed man, it's a definite article. You know what that means, definite article? It means you are blessed when maybe someone else. It makes you the one, the blessed. Meaning others aren't blessed. What do you mean? You can put two people in the same situation. God forbid you put two people in a cancerous situation. One is just done. They've given up. The other one says, oh no, this is unacceptable because I know God is a healer. And they're going to fight. And they're going to have a total different countenance. They're going to have a total different mentality. They may go up, and their emotions may be all over the place just like the other guy, but something undergirds them. Something anchors them to where they have a hope and they don't quit fighting because they're holding on to the promises of God and they're going forward and they're believing. Or two people that are unemployed. One just gives up and just says, forget it, I'm just going to go on welfare. The other one says, no, I'm holding on. This isn't my destiny. Come on, this is just a bump in the road. I'm moving forward here. Where's my opportunities, God? And they're seeking opportunity in the Lord. Open the door, God. What are you doing here? See, two people in the same situation but acting differently because one understands he's blessed and the other one doesn't know it. So when it says the blessed man, it's a definite article, and you are that blessed man if you're saved. If you're saved, you're that blessed man. So you got to go into this thing knowing I am blessed, which means this thing is not going to take me out. If I thought going to the gym was going to be my demise and I was going to end up in the hospital because of something that happened during working out, I'm not going in there. In fact, I'd be fearful going in there. When's it going to happen? When's it going to be the time I pass out and hit my head and go unconscious? I mean, you don't think that because you've got the confidence. Hey, it's going to work out. We can even we can be in pain and maybe even enjoy a little bit. For the joy set before me, I'll go work out. That's the thing. Jesus, for the joy set before him, endured the cross. That's a whole other level. I'm not going to take you there. We can't even get to where we want to go here, let alone get to the place where we start enjoying the pain. That's tough. Not that you actually enjoy it, but you know what I mean. You know that it's tough, but man, the fruit that's going to bear out of it. And then there is that freaky thing that you love the pain. I'm sorry, you just love the feeling of it. And you can get that as a Christian, by the way. I know I'm getting off track here, but let me just, since I opened up that little can of worms, I can say, you know what, God, I hate this, and everything in me hates this, but in my spirit I know this is going to work out for my good. It's going to make me better, so therefore let's endure it. Let's just buck up, and let's just press through, and I'll rely on every grace that you can give me to get me through this thing. Okay? So anyway, it's a state of being, which means it's a continual state. Your situation may change, your emotions may be all over the place, but you always maintain the blessed. You're blessed. And that's tough but that's the first thing you got to know going in. If you don't get that going into the valley, then the devil can lie to you all over the place. You'll be susceptible to every lie about your identity and how God sees you. And that's where most Christians, they just get in that valley and they just sink into the miry clay of it because the devil lies to them. You're not worthy. God's doing this to you. This is God not happy with you. This is God being mean to you. This is the kind of God you want to serve. Hey, go ahead. I mean, if you want to end up, and then you just sink into that. You settle into that mentality, and then you get lost in that valley. You never come out. I'm telling you. Do you understand that you can get lost in the pruning? That you know, the valley of the shadow of death should have just been the shadow, but it actually became your death. Why do you think he said in Hebrews 12, would you rather not submit to the Father of spirits and live? Why does he throw that in there, and live? Well, of course is he going to kill us? No, you're letting the pressure of the valley get between you and God, and you are your worst enemy at that point. And Jesus said, let be it done according to your faith. So this is not, these warnings in Hebrews are not just the warnings of Hebrews 4, the warnings of Hebrews 10, the warnings of Hebrews 12, the warnings of Hebrews 13. There's exhortation there, and he's just not blowing smoke. People can become a castaway. Paul talks about it in Romans 9, that he said that I not become a castaway. And it's your choice. It's your faith that either gets you through, or it's your unbelief that gets you stuck. And people get stuck. Look, I'm not stuck. You say, well, maybe you're stuck for 3 years. I am not stuck. I'm operating in faith, man. I'm not sitting here stuck. This is just the endurance of my pruning. If I was stuck, I would have given up, and you wouldn't see me standing here. The fact that I'm standing here, I ain't stuck. This message is for me. All right? For those who think, well, maybe you're stuck. You want to analyze me. Maybe it's you who's stuck. No. You know, Greg, you could get out of this thing if you would just do A, B, or C. Yeah. Yeah. Anytime a message tells you that you can speed up God's process, I wouldn't give it much credence. God's not going to speed anything up. Now, there is the suddenlies of God, which means when he stops it, and you get the breakthrough real quick. But the process, he's no hurry. A vine dresser is in no hurry, and neither is a coach on that field is in no hurry. Because he knows if he skips certain things and hurries up the process, he's going to pay for it in the team when they get out there on the field this fall. Make sense? So it's a blessed state. Now, verse 6. Who passing? Now this word passing, you may want to underline it. This is big here. Who passing? Life is filled with transitions. That's what this word passing means. Who passing? You know what that passing means? Every Christian is on a journey, and you are in transition. You never, ever stay still. Your marriage never stays the same. Your work, where God has you and things going on, it never God will keep you in transition, because just as the Israelites, the cloud kept moving, the pillar of fire kept moving, God kept transitioning them. Because he never, what did he say to Moses? You've been at this mountain what? You've been at this mountain long enough. Go forward. Go north. That's what he said in Deuteronomy. So when it says passing, and here's where you're going to understand your life in the stuff you're going through. You've got to understand as a Christian, you're going to be in transition. God will never ever keep things the same. I know it would be nice. In fact, I always say that. I cry out and say, where's the reprieve? I mean, just when I get out of one battle, you give me a little time off, but right away you've changed this. This happens, that happens. I think I got this area under my belt, and over here this goes haywire. So I come over here, I work with you in faith, I hang in there, and all of a sudden over here. And it's just transition all the time. From, oh, I got fired. Oh, my wife left me. Oh, my finances went haywire. Oh, my health went to hell in a handbag. And all transition happening all the time. You ever wonder that? Why doesn't things just stay the same? Why is there always transition? You may not, maybe the word for you would be, why is there always hell? But it's transition. Things are changing. You know, when the things are, you know, if I'm only getting 30% of fruit out of a particular area, I think many of us would be happy with that. As long as you don't put pain in there, I'll keep the 30%. And God says no, because you understand, I want 100% fruit. So I'm going to take that area of your life and create change. And it could be by this: the devil doing something, somebody else doing something to you, or you blowing it. Huh? And God's going to take all that he calculates and use it as providence, we call it providence, to work against you. But really it's not against you. In your mind it is. You think that thing happening to you is a bad thing, but it's you're on the wheel. And I think if we would get a revelation, I don't know if you'll get a revelation this or not, because it's like you said, when we're going through that, it's grievous. Who thinks clearly when they're in pain? Who thinks clearly when all hell's breaking loose? We react rather than meditate. We react. Rather than wait on the Lord, we get in there and troubleshoot the thing and try to fix it and only create matters worse. But as saints, in understanding this, we got to step back and say, wait a minute, I'm on the wheel. It's obvious, I am on the wheel. And we are in transition, folks. Can you imagine a husband and wife, every time they go through something, if they had this revelation, they could sit back and say, uh-oh, something, God's up to change. Behold, I do a new thing. And for him to do a new thing, he has to take away the old to establish the new. He has to take away the old bark to produce more fruit. And nobody gets it because of these good time boys with this good time message that it doesn't have the potter's wheel, the pruning, the coaching. They think they're doing something wrong when this is happening. Because that's the message. You shouldn't be in the wilderness. You shouldn't be going through a hard time. We're the blessed of the Lord. See what they're doing? They're removing the blessed state, removing you out of the blessed state because of something bad happening or something that doesn't line up with what we would call blessing. No, the blessed man goes through the valley. The blessed man is blessed before he even goes in the valley. If he would have taken that word blessed out and just says the man goes to the valley, and then the blessings on the other end, then I could sit there and say, well, wait a minute, maybe something happened that he wasn't blessed. It was the fact that he wasn't blessed that he got in the valley. But it says the blessed man is in the valley. Meaning you didn't do anything wrong per se. Huh? But that's not what you're going to hear. These faith teachers especially, if you're going through a hard time, they're going to say to you, there's sin in your life and there's something wrong. You should have been delivered by now. You should have been healed by now. You should have had a job by now. You should have had your marriage fixed by now. You should have done this. You should have done that. You know why? Because they don't equate they don't equate life as a blessed life unless something good is happening. And if they're not seeing the fruit, then you're doing something wrong. Wait a minute. No, the wrong that you apparently think that I'm doing is God pruning. And maybe I am doing wrong. But is that not a result of the pruning? God bringing out something in me that He says, we're going to transform you in this area. And so I'm going to let you do this thing that you so desire to do. And so I do it, and I get myself into trouble. And yeah, in this case, I put myself in this valley. But again, He laid the iniquity of us all on Him. So see, we want to analyze why we're in the valley. And then you got these guys, like I said, saying, well, there's sin in your life. Well, you didn't do the 6 steps, I said. If you listen to my CD on 10 ways and 4 keys, no, I'm blessed. You can't add to that. Just like you can't add to my righteousness. You can't add to my blessing. So I'm not going to try to adjust anything right off the bat here. I'm blessed going into this thing. And I'm not going to let the devil or some good time boy tell me I'm not blessed, and that's why I'm in the valley. The valley is necessary. Let me ask you a question. I'm getting all over the place here now. But let me ask you a question. Does that coach criticize those boys for being out of shape? He may maybe to a little degree say, you guys been on the couch all summer long, I can tell that. And that's the end of it. Now we're going to train. But he doesn't keep bringing that up and analyze. I wonder why he's so slow. I wonder what he did this summer. And then we're going to go back and we're going to talk about what you guys did this summer. Did anybody play games? Did you swim all summer? He doesn't. He's going to take them into the play or whatever, into the locker room, and he's going to show films, he's going to show diagrams, he's going to put them out. It's over. You know what you did? It doesn't matter what you did this summer. I got you now. You're on my field. You're in my locker room. You're mine. Just like a sergeant. Doesn't care what kind of how many times did you smoke pot? No, the sergeant is, you're mine now. Your butt belongs to me. And I don't care what you are. Remember the guy, are you a queer or a steer? Remember that? Huh? Anybody ever seen The Officer and the Gentleman? How he gets in there? He don't care whether they're a queer or a steer. He doesn't care. He says, you're mine now, and I'm going to mold you. And I don't care if you were a mama's boy coming into this thing. You're mine now. So a coach doesn't do that. But you know what the church wants to do? They want to analyze. Well, how many times did you sin? Well, did you do that? Well, this is why. And they want to sit there and analyze why you're in the valley. And then once they got a CD series of why you're in the valley. And then they've got another CD series how to get you out of the valley real quick. If you just do this, boom, you can get out. You can stop this thing right now and get out of this thing. But nobody ever wants to talk about being in the valley. Huh? Nobody. Because nobody wants pruned. Nobody wants to endure this thing, man. Because it's grievous. Who signs up for pain? You know, and they know going into the thing that they're going to be pain. But they know that there's results. And these guys don't really. They know coming up, you're in June, and then football practice starts in, what, August? They know what's coming. They're not really looking forward to sweating in the sun and their outfits and all that. But they're going to do it because they enjoy the game and the win. See, you got to enjoy doing God's will. You got to enjoy being a son. You got to enjoy that God's for you, not against you. He's going to turn this thing around. And that's what you focus. And that's why Jesus, with joy, endured the cross. Because he wasn't so much looking at the cross as he was looking at the resurrection. So what you're doing is what you're looking at in the valley is what's important. Okay? Let's take the promises of God. Because this is a promise here, right? Psalm 84, blessed men go through. This is one of the promises. You got to see the Bible, the Word, promises of God as a compass. Okay? And that is this. You may be in the wilderness and you don't have any sense of direction because there's nothing there that you can say, oh, I'm going to go this way or that way. So you really can't look at the woods, can you? If you're lost. You can't look at the woods because any direction, it's just like I can go, I don't know. But if you've got a compass and it points north, then you can say, hey, and then all the while you're walking through that forest, you're looking at north, and guess what? You're gonna come out of that place. I can give you a better picture is going in an airplane, and as you're flying, you can see the horizon. Some guys can fly a plane in the daytime, not night. They're only licensed to fly in the daytime using the horizon because they've not been instructed on the panel yet. So they fly in the daytime and they fly by horizons. Now these guys here that's got these little airplanes and these small airports around us, they're daytime flyers probably. And they use I-79 as a guide to where they're at. And I know that for a fact because I know a guy working at the airport and a guy got lost and they said just follow I-79 because he didn't know he was out of the area and came in here to fly. And they just said follow this interstate. He was in Charleston. Follow I-79 and you'll get right to Kingwood here, or Kingmont here. So, but then you got the guys who are learned on the instrument panel. They can fly at night. In fact, they will go so high up that they're in clouds. You can't see nothing, can you? I mean, you ever been in a plane? And then you're up there and you're looking, you can't see nothing but white. If it's cloudy, if it's a cloudy day, it's just white. It's a whiteout. Now, how in the world are these guys going to know where they're going if all they see are clouds? Is that those gauges. So they sit there, drink coffee, joke around, flirt with the stewardesses, whatever they do in that cockpit. But when it's time to land, they come down out of those clouds, and guess what? There is the airport staring them right in the face. This is how you get through your valley, by focusing on God's word of promise. Not what your situation is screaming at you. Not that you're this sickness or this sin or this setback. When you look at that, you're letting the pressure get between you and God. But if you say, I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at what this thing's about. I'm looking at God's word here. And it tells me what He's up to. It tells me what promises I can hold on to. And when this storm passes, and I get through this pruning process, guess what? When I come out of the storm, out of the clouds, right there, I will be exactly where I am supposed to be, right on time, right place, right time, to experience all the fruitfulness from all that pruning that I've been through. But what keeps me going and keeps me focused is not looking at the pain, not looking at the problem, but it's looking at the promise. Not looking at the problem, but focusing and putting my faith in the promise, and I'll get through the valley. Okay, does that make sense? That's how we handle it with God's Word. So this blessed man has a life of transition. He's moving. He's not settling down. He's on the move. He's passing. Your Christian life is a journey. You're never going to be at a standstill. The things are always going to be mixed up. Things are always going to be stirred periodically. Never ever see it, even if it's the devil. But don't get discouraged or disheartened. Just say, okay, Lord, what are you going to use? You're going to use this for your glory and my good. Now, what are you doing? And go into that thing with faith rather than fear and trepidation. And like I said, if two married couples can come together and say, hey, we are in transition, God's up to change, then they won't bite and devour one another for the next 6 months. Huh? And then they come out and go, oh, that must have been a transition. And she's looking at you, yeah, but I remember the names you called me during this transition. Huh? Yeah, you get that? Or I need to elaborate on that. See, if you understand, hey, we're both on the same page here, and yeah, we're going through some hard times, but God's in control. He's setting us up. Remember? Behold, I do a new thing. Forget the former things. Remember not the things of the past. I'm doing a new thing. So embrace this change. Don't use it to bite and devour one another, but embrace it and say, we're in transition. And say, okay, Lord, what are we doing here? And get ready for a ride of your life. But no. We'll bite. We'll devour. We'll call each other's names. We'll treat each other with disdain. And then when we come through it, and then the blessing's there, the fruit's there, then the person's like, life's so good. And you're like, I remember how you acted in that valley. And you weren't really nice to me in that valley. I remember how you talked to me. I remember how you treated me. And yeah, I'm glad. God did His part. But like I said, if we don't get through the valley, now I've got to fix some stuff I did in the valley. Rather than just endure and understand, and like we're going to talk about next week, how to gain strength and turn the thing into a spring of pool. No, we kick, complain, make everybody mad, and then we come out, wow, man, hey, and then we look around and everybody's got this sour look on their face because we treat everybody like crap. And now we got to go back and apologize and say, well, I was just going through a hard time, please forgive me. Yeah, okay. But I'm saying, understand the season you're in. Understand the pruning process. It doesn't make it easier, but again, you're not going to come out looking like a jerk. You know, and you're going to endure the thing. Man, 3.5 years of me, have I ever stood up here and browbeated you because of the pain that I was going through? If I had, you know, that would be the type of person that I'm talking about, who everybody's going to pay for my pruning. No, you get the mindset right. You get your mind renewed. You line yourself up with the process and endure. I know. It's hard to do. So, passing through is, you're on a journey. Understand that. You're on a journey. You're on a pilgrimage with God. You're on your way to your purpose. You're on your way to destiny, and you're ultimately on your way to heaven. And God's never going to keep you at one place. He'll use whatever, whenever, to stir things up, to bring out change for fruitfulness, for your good, always for your good, and always for His glory. Now it says here that this change comes, and here's the kicker. You don't get to pick the map, the direction God's going to take you. He's pointing you to Alaska, and you want to go to Florida. You don't get to choose the valley. You can't say, Lord, can we discuss the nature of the trip? Can I at least approve? Can you give me a couple plans that I can approve one of them? I would never approve of what I've been through. Nobody in their right mind would have picked the route I'm on. Huh? I mean, I'd pick something else, something less. That's pretty drastic, you know, what you did. But here's Here's the thing you got to understand about people in your life. When God starts pruning, God could even prune a church, and people get offended for whatever reason and leave. God prunes a church, God prunes a people, God prunes a marriage, God prunes your finances. Because why? So you have more fruit. If you want more finances, let Him prune your finances right now. And you may have to go without for some things. And you're thinking, oh, I need to tithe more. I need to tithe more. I need to give more. No, you just need to let God prune your finances. I don't know. Maybe in this pruning, He'll give you revelation on how to better use your money or something. I don't know. See, that's why you don't see me preach on that kind of stuff. That's between you and the Holy Spirit to work out why He's pruning your marriage or your finances. I don't get involved in that personal stuff. That's because it's none of my business. Your finances my business? Your marriage sure ain't my business. I don't want to even get between you two. That's, you know. So I give you faith. I give you the word, the promise. You work out those details. And you know that it's God who works in and through your finances. For it is God who is at work in your marriage, not Greg. So I'm not giving you keys and secrets in 4 ways. I'm giving you Jesus, and you and Him work that relationship out. But He will prune different areas of your life. Or, like I said, sometimes you'll go by and you'll see a branch being pruned. But there's sometimes the whole fruit, the whole tree gets reconstructed. I believe my whole tree, because of the duration and all the change that's taken place in my life, is God reconstructing the whole. That's why I don't ever believe that I'll ever go through a pruning like this again. Because this is a total tearing down of everything. And He didn't just do my finances. He didn't do my marriage. He did a complete, clean swipe across the board and brought me down to ground zero. Now that's a total reconstruction. And now everything starts over again. That's the good news. You can sit there and say, oh, poor Greg. Don't poor me. How many guys get a chance to start over like this? I mean, I would have chose it. I would have liked to have kept some things in my life, but I didn't have no control over a lot of it. So how many people would love to start over like that again? It's tough starting over, but I get the joy of, hey, I get to start over again. And now God gets to bring the things into my life and not me trying to produce the Ishmaels. So I'm okay. Don't feel sorry for me. It's an exciting time for me because as a tree, I don't look very good. Where's the prosperity, Greg? Don't know. Where's the healing, Greg? Not got it yet. Where's your deliverance, Greg? Still holding on. Wow, man, you're really preaching all this stuff, but we ain't seeing no fruit. Why? I'm being pruned. Your church isn't growing. The church is being pruned. You don't get growth when you're pruned. So don't let the lack of fruit make you feel like a second-class Christian. You're being pruned. You're not going to get all that everybody else gets. You're not going to get everything the Bible says you're going to get right now. You're being pruned. Don't think like that. Remember, you're already blessed, so don't think you're going to get blessed. You are already blessed going in, and you're going to be blessed going out. I'm just running out of time here. Let's stand. It's a good time at this point to stop.